Hey guys, welcome to this channel, Fun Maths with Excel. Today we want to talk about mixed operations, and so let's dive into it. Before now, we have looked at order of operation where we discussed BODMAS, BIDMAS, PEMDAS. Okay, so I would advise that you look at that video before you continue here so that you don't find anything confusing. Now let's look at these mixed operations. So what is mixed operation? It is a type of operation that contains multiple operations or operators. Okay, it is a type of operation that contains multiple operators. What this means is that, let me explain what an operation means in mathematics. Say you have 2 plus 3 plus 5, and you say, what is this equal to? This is an operation. Okay, in mathematics we call an equation or a set of numbers with signs and instruction on what to do as an operation. So this is an operation now. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 5 becomes 10. So that becomes an operation. And so when we have a type of operation that contains multiple operators like the plus sign, the minus, the division, the multiplication, the squares, and so on and so forth, we call such kind of operation mixed operations. Okay, now in mixed operations we employ the use of either BODMAS, BIDMAS, PEMDAS. Okay, because it helps us to solve the operations in an acceptable order. All right, so questions in mixed operation usually start from easy to hard. The easy ones would contain less operators, while the complex ones contains more, if not all, with special techniques required to resolve them. Okay, so let's begin this with something very simple. So we call that example 1. Example 1. Let's say we have solve 6 divided by 2 times 2 minus 5 plus 3. Say you have this question. Let's say solution. All right. This is a mixed operation because you can see here that you have a positive, you have negative operator, you have the multiplication operator, you have the division operator. And so how do we proceed with this? Remember our BODMAS, that each time we have the, let me just write BODMAS here so that it be easy for us to follow, that if we have a bracket, we'll start with the bracket. If we do not have the bracket and we have order, we start with that. If we do not have that and we have division, we start with division. If we have multiplication, we continue in that order. So the flow goes in this order from left to right. Okay. However, something unique happens when you have division and multiplication in sequence, and it does not matter which order they come, whether the multiplication comes first before division, that you are going to do it from left to right. The same applies for addition and subtraction. You do from left to right. Okay, so now in this case we have a sequence of division and multiplication coming just within the same sequence. Okay, so we can have the first would be 6 divided by 2, and that would be 3, so that we have the rest of the equation written as 2 times 2, okay, minus 5 plus 3. Okay, and so now we know that the next thing to do in BODMAS is multiplication. So we can say 3 times 2, that will be 6, minus 5 plus 3. All right. The next thing to do is to subtract in that equation. And minus 5 plus 3, I advise that you look at the video on extras 1, arithmetic extras 1 and 2. Okay, we've discussed how to manipulate the signs, how to solve signs that has to do with this. But minus 5 plus 3 will give you minus 2, so that this question becomes is equals to 4. Okay, and your answer to that question will be 4. Let's solve another example. Call it example 2. We have solve 8 divided by 4 plus 4 times 8 minus 3. Okay, solution. Look at this. You have division there, so that's where you're going to be starting from. 8 divided by 4 is 2. That leaves you with 4 plus 4 multiplied by 8 minus 3. Okay, and so you can continue with that to the multiplication sign, because that's the next thing to do according to BODMAS. So now 4 times 8 is 32 minus 3. Okay, the next thing to do is to add, so that you have 2 plus 32, that will become 34, then minus 3, and your answer will be equals to 31. Okay, let's solve yet another question. Call it example 3. Okay, say solve open bracket 8 minus 6 close bracket, then multiplied 2 plus 3. All right, solution. According to BODMAS, because we now have something in the bracket, we are going to concentrate on that first. So that we say 8 minus 6 is 2, leaving us with multiplication of 2 plus 3. Okay, the next thing to do is to multiply, and so we say 2 times 2 is 4, then plus 3, and then the answer to that will be equals to 7. Okay, now if you look at this, the flow of this, you see that these questions we have solved are very easy. But now in example 4, we want to look at something a little bit challenging, not complex. Let's call it challenging. We say 14, solve 14 divided by 2 plus the square root of 25 minus 10 plus 6 plus 3 raised to the power of 2. Okay, solution. Now, according to this, we are going to do the orders first. Okay, the orders, and that is the one with squared. So we just write everything until we get to that point where there is square, and solve that. Plus the square root of 25 minus 10 plus minus 10 plus 6. Now the square root of 3 simply means 3 times 3, and that will be 9. Okay, so that we can now have 14 divided by 2, but we will not do 14 divided by 2, we'll go to the square root, and so we can have 14 divided by 2 plus, what is the square root of 25? That's 5. So that we have minus 10 plus 6 plus 9. Okay, the next thing according to the BODMAS is to solve the divisions. So that 14 divided by 2 is 7. So we have plus 5 minus 10 plus 6 plus 9. Okay, and the next thing is to solve the divisions, the additions. So we have 7 plus 5, and that is what? 7 plus 5 is 12 minus 10 minus 10 plus, we can add up 6 plus 9 if we want, so we can have 15. Okay, and so that we can have 10 plus 15, minus 10 plus 15, minus 10 plus 15 is minus 5, is plus 5. Okay, so that when we add up these, we can have 17, and that will be your answer. All right, let's take another question that's also challenging. That will be question 5. Solve. We have multiple brackets. You recall what I have said in the previous video on brackets. Now we have the curly bracket coming in and the parenthesis. 6 times 3 minus 3, close bracket or close parenthesis, open parenthesis, 6 plus 7, close parenthesis and close the curly bracket, times 2 raised to the power of 2, divide by 2. Okay, now this is the equation. Let's have solution here. Okay, if you look at this question here, you will see that we need to start from the inner bracket there, that is the parenthesis. Okay, the question there, the equation in the parenthesis there is 6 times 3, and so we'll just put this and put this. 6 times 3 is 18, and that is minus 3. You close that. All right, then you go to this, just write almost the same thing, plus 7. You close this. All right, then you write your multiplication, 2 raised to the power of 2, then divide by 2. All right, we come to the next thing to do. What's the next thing to do here? You continue with the same bracket. 18 minus 3 will give you 18 minus 3 will give you 15, so that you have minus here. 6 plus 7, that's the one in the bracket here. All right, 6 plus 7, that will be 13. So that you can have the curly bracket here, and then the multiplication, then 2 raised to the power of 2 divide by 2. Okay, you see it's becoming less complex now because you can now see what to do. Let's continue with that. What do we do? 15 minus 13, and that will give you 2. So that takes off the brackets completely from that equation, so that now we can have 2 raised to the power of 2 and divide by 2. Okay, and so you do the powers. 2 times 2 raised to the power of 2 means 2 times 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So you put that here and do your division. Put your division. The next thing to do is to divide. Okay, is to divide, or you could just follow the sequence the way it is there, and you say 2 times 4, it gives you 8, and then divide by 2. All right, it gives you 8 divided by 2, and that will be 4. Okay, and that's your answer. All right, so you can see that this, although it looks complex, it's very, 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 very simple. All right, let's take the last example on mixed operation. Okay, we call this example 6. This is a little bit challenging, and so we can have 3, that is the cube root of 64, cube root of 64, cube root of 64 times 2 raised to the power of 3 times 3 cube root of 64 times 2 raised to the power of 3 times 3 plus the square root of 36 divide by 3 plus 2. Okay, all right. And now that we have something like this, we need to look at BODMAS. What does BODMAS say we should do in cases like this? What does BODMAS say we should do? It says that we should start with the powers, okay? And so we go right there to the powers and just put this the way it is, 64 and times 2 raised to the power of 3 is 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 2, which is 8. So we are going to put 8 here to show that that has been resolved, so that we can have this coming back in, divide by 3 plus 2. All right. Now you now see that what we have is a square root and a cube root. In questions involving square root, cube root, fourth root, fifth root, and so on and so forth, the first thing to solve is the square root. Okay, so we just put that of the cube root, 64 times 8 times 3. Okay, 64 times 8 times 3 plus the square root of 36 is 6. So that will be solved, so that we can just have 3 plus 2. Okay, that's done. So we move now to the cube root. Cube root of 64 is what? 4. So we solve that so that we can have times 8 times 3, okay, plus 6 divided by 6. Now divide by plus 6 divided by 3 plus 2. Okay, and so what do we do now? We divide, because we have division there. So we can have 4 times 8 times 3, then 6 divided by 3 will be 2, so that we can have plus 2 plus 2. Okay, so we move on to multiply. 4 times 8, then times 3, that will give us 96. We now have plus 2 plus 2. Okay, we can now add the whole of this to give us 100. All right, and this becomes our answer. Okay, I don't want to leave you that way, so I'll just give you something to work on. Let me just call it an assignment or something. So let's say you solve this question. This is a bracket open, cube root of 27, cube root of 27 plus 13 minus 12, okay, close bracket, plus 6 times the square root of 36 minus 11. Okay, let's see how you solve this. You can leave the answers in the comment section. All right, thank you so much for following this video. Please like, share, comment, and follow this channel if you have not done so. Bye for now.